Okay, are we working? Are we dialed in? Are we ready to rock and roll? Welcome. Welcome to the In-Between podcast, where men can be men. I don't know. We'll have to see about this one. So today on this episode, we're going to be talking about the top 3 things you can do for yourself and your kids to confirm you're an epic dad. Not just a good dad, not just like a great dad. I'm talking epic. Absolutely epic dad. All right? So let's get into the first thing. Let's stop monkeying around and just make it happen. Oh, let me turn this up. There we go. I think we got that taken care of. All right. So the first thing that I'm going to suggest that everyone does immediately, I'm talking dads here. If women want to do it, that's fine too. But I think it would have a bigger impact if it was dads. Now, if you have an Android or if you have an iPhone, it's irrelevant. Okay, what I want you to do is I want you to start making a conscious effort of recognizing that every moment that you're with your kids, okay, is a moment that can be captured. And because you have a mobile phone, and because your mobile phone takes pictures, and because you can take video, you have no excuse not to do it. And so you're probably saying to yourself, well, why would I want to do that? Exactly. Why would you want to do that? And the answer is because if you do it long enough, you will have decades of memories that you can look back on and laugh hysterically about, especially with your boys, even more so if you have girls, because they just seem to dial into that moment much differently than boys do. Boys just get excited. I think younger girls get more emotional and connected, but I could be wrong. I don't know. I'm not a girl. But the wonderful thing about taking pictures and even making videos is that if you use either one of those 2 mobile devices, which I think roughly 90% of the people in the United States actually do, with YouTube photos, they will automatically upload to YouTube photos every time you log into your Wi-Fi. Same thing applies for iPhone. Anytime you connect to the iCloud, whether it be your Wi-Fi or in another location, all those will be uploaded into the cloud, and you'll have them forever. I have over a decade and a half of memories. Some memories I actually have on Laserdisc. Back in the day when we didn't even have, like phones capable of taking the type of video that we can take today. I probably got 20 videos. Yeah. I'm recording my podcast, so let me go. Bye. Love you too. All right, that was my son calling me. But my point is getting back to the point is you will regret being at my age not doing this, okay? And I have created a 1-minute short that I was going to put on the back end of this video, but I decided not to, which I will link to this description that will show you what I'm talking about. And it's just random pictures that I've taken over the years with all of my kids. There's even one where my ex-wife gets supposedly injured by our dog, which I'm not really sure actually happened. But it was funny. We couldn't stop laughing. So if this kind of stuff doesn't matter to you, I'm telling you right now it should. Because you will look back on doing what I'm asking you to do right now with the biggest and greatest smile and sigh of relief that you have this stuff captured. Because I am so grateful I can go back and have maybe 100 hours of video of me and my kids. I mean, it's just absolutely precious. Now, the other dynamic that makes it more fun is that your kids will remember it. You know what I mean? Like, they'll remember those moments where you felt compelled to take out a camera and take a video because A, they want to be on video, and B, if it's funny, they want to laugh. You know what I mean? And the more you get in the habit of doing that, the more content and the more memories you'll be able to save. And I'm just telling you, if you do that, I think that this is a long game, you know what I mean? I think in even 3 years, you'll be absolutely dumbfounded of how much material you can actually capture. And it's awesome, okay? So that's the first thing that you can do for yourself and for your kids to confirm you're an epic dad. All right. The second one, okay? The second one is the power of music, all right? And I'll give you some context on what I'm talking about. So between the ages of, 1 and 10, you're going to have opportune times when your kids listen to you, and it's just easier. When they get into like the 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 years of age, here's what's going to happen. None of what you say is going to be heard. None of your children will think that you have any experience at all that's worth hearing, and they'll downplay every moment they believe is not relevant. You know what I mean? Like they'll just write it off. Now, I had a really hard time with this. I have so much experience that when my kids are going through stuff, I kind of get into this like, hey, well, can I share with you what I did kind of mode? And, after a while doing that for a couple times and saying it over and over again, they just kind of roll their eyes. They're like, oh, here we go again, another lecture. Here we go again, something else that, I got to hear. And if you force your kids to listen to you in any situation, they're just not going to hear you. They're not at all. But as a parent, how do I still get across my message wishing that they were willing to listen to me without actually getting it across? And the answer is music, okay? And let me explain to you why. I'm a Gen Xer. I grew up with Led Zeppelin. I grew up with Jimi Hendrix. I grew up with Eric Clapton. I grew up with, all the greats, right? Marvin Gaye, Bill Withers. Johnny Cash, Elvis Presley. I didn't grow up with Elvis Presley, but he was around, you know what I mean? And back in those days, music was really important. And it still is today. It's just important on a different level. But you and I both know that music is an art form, and most inspiration from music comes from heartfelt experiences. Having your heart broken, right? How many songs are about that? Falling in love. What is it like to feel and fall in love with somebody? All types of experience. Even like being willing to rage. Like I even think of like Pantera and Tool, especially Tool, Metallica, Korn, even like they put together a level of music that I think most men can identify with. But I share this with you because there's also the likes of Billy Joel. There's also the likes of, Michael Jackson. And if there's a song that as an individual you remember made you feel like how the song wanted you to feel, you can forward that on to your kids. And what it will do is they'll listen to it when they're ready to listen to it. And this doesn't happen every single time I forward music to my kids, but it's happened enough where it's become a habit of both of ours. And so if they come and ask you, hey, that Billy Joel song that you sent me, like, is it about, and then they start asking questions about the song, and you can, in a backdoor way, weave in to what it is that you originally wanted to talk with them about that you just weren't able to because they didn't want to hear you, right? So it gives you an opportunity to do it again. And I was literally I was literally doing this podcast, and I reached out to my son, who just literally called me right now, and I asked him what were the 5 songs, if he could list the top 5 songs that I sent to him that had a meaningful, positive impact on him, that compelled him to ask more questions. I'm going to give you the 5 right now. Okay? The first one is of Gregory Porter. If you know who Gregory Porter is, then you know who I'm talking about. But at a event where he was honoring Sting, who is the author of the song It's Probably Me, he sang his own version, and it absolutely blew my mind. Like, it was so good that he actually took the song that somebody else wrote and redid it in his way. I mean, it was a completely different song. And he sang it in front of Sting and his wife. And you could see Sting in this video just like, holy shit, you know? So that was one. Charles Bradley, the song Changes. This is one of my favorites. Midnight in Harlem by the Tedeschi Trucks Band. Have you ever heard that one? That one's incredible. Low Down by Boss Skaggs. And Alice in Chains, The Nutshell. I mean, those are 5 incredible songs that I was able to share with my son that compelled him to ask more questions about whether it was the lyrics of the song, how we identify with it. It's just another great way for you to engage with your kids in a way that you probably not have ever thought about. And it helps you because you're still conveying a message. You're just not saying it. You're letting a song do it. And that helped me a lot when it came to recognizing that I can't say anything at that time because I know that they're just not going to hear me. Now, on the flip side of that coin, my son sends me a truckload of new songs to listen to, and I'll tell you who he got me into. So he got me into Curmudgeon, you know, Erykah Badu, Billy Strings, Juice WRLD, Kid Laroi, Duran Jones and the Indications, Goldford out of Austin, Texas, Lil Wayne, Ian, Little Darky. I mean, like, these are bands that I would have never have ever considered listening to. But I respect their music even more now because it's coming from my son and I want to hear what's interesting to them. And the other part of this too is if you know your kids are having a hard time with anything, listen to what kind of music they're listening to, and they will tell you. Because if you listen to Juice WRLD and you know what I'm talking about, you're going to get a clear indication of where your son or daughter is at that moment. And you'll be prepared for anything. Okay? So, the power of music. And last but not least, the third habit that you and your kids will confirm makes you an epic dad. Okay? Hold on. Learning how to ask good questions may eliminate your fear of asking for help. So, what has that got to do with the first 2 things? Really, nothing. But what I can tell you is whenever I talk about on any podcast or any communication that I have that references asking for help, I feel like men just shut down, right? Like they just shut down. They don't want to hear the word help, and especially ask for help, right? Most men are, I'm going to figure it out. I'm going to do what I need to do. Just give me some time and leave me alone. All right. And I would say to you that that's not a good way of doing it either. But learning how to ask questions could help you convey or eliminate your fear of asking for help. Think about, what is a lawyer's primary tool? What is a market research person's primary tool? If you said ask questions, you're absolutely right. And learning how to ask questions is no different than learning how to play a musical instrument or becoming an artist. It takes a lot of practice to be able to ask questions in a healthy way. All right. And next week, on next week's episode, I'm going to introduce a game to you guys that maybe we can try, because I'm down for trying it. And, well, I don't know if you'll like it, okay? But it might help people practice learning how to ask questions in a real man way, that most men I know will 100% identify with. You know, the person who is asking the questions is really the person who's in control of the room. And not that this is a control thing, because it's not, but questions asked the right way with the right tone is no different than reciting poetry, is no different than sharing a song. It's a powerful tool that men, I believe, need to work harder in learning how to do, and more importantly, helping their kids get used to the idea of asking questions that instead of shutting down, right? Like another word, like I would say that another word that men absolutely shut down and refuse to acknowledge when someone says it to them is the word vulnerability. I don't want anything to do with that word, and I'm okay with being vulnerable. I really am. But that word is the equivalent to women not using the word moist, right? Like, they don't use that word. I really don't know why, but I don't need to know why, because a lot of women told me they hate the word. I can tell you why men don't want to hear the word vulnerable and how it makes them feel when they actually hear it. It shuts them down. It just shuts them down. Not doing it. We've been conditioned way too long to be vulnerable and to think that over the course of the last 3 years, if we're talking about being vulnerable and asking for help, why it hasn't happened, it's because this type of change doesn't happen overnight. And it doesn't happen overnight because we've been told for so long that you don't ask for help and you don't be vulnerable, no matter what circumstances are out there. Okay? So those are the top 3 things that you and your kids can do to confirm you're an epic dad. The top 3 things. Take pictures and video and save them. Every moment is a moment to cherish, and you never know when you'll capture something wonderful. The power of music. If you love music as much as I do, and you understand its power and what it's capable of doing, when your kids have come to a point where they don't want to listen to you anymore because they don't think that you know what you're talking about, send them a song and see what happens. It'll help you with not giving your advice, especially when they're not going to listen to it. And last but not least, this is more for the men, but it's a great way to also help teach your kids, is learn how to ask questions. I know it sounds stupid. And you're like, how hard is it to ask a question, right? But it's really hard to ask a question if you're worried and nervous about how someone might feel about you, right? Trust me. Smart people learn how to ask questions and then watch and take in how they're answered. You will learn so much about somebody if you choose to do that. But if you're sensitive and you don't listen to the answer, then you're missing out. And next week we'll work on some sensitivity training. At least try to. So do me a favor, do yourself a favor. Got water tonight. I'm slamming down some water. Stay quenched. And I don't know about you, but I will definitely see you on the next one. More importantly, I'll see you in there.